All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome for showing up religiously. I'm grateful to see you all here, and I'm pretty excited about today's topic. Last week we presented on how to win friends and influence people. You may remember that's from Dale Carnegie. That's his take on how to interact with people and how it applies in all of life, including in job search. Today, I'm going to present a little bit of a spin on that. I'm going to present my spin on it and how I've used it, used his teachings to interact in my daily life. So it'd be my life advice to my younger self on how to apply his principles and things that I've done both in job search and in the workplace. And so let me fire it up. The spin on this is especially topical for building virtual relationships, because in the age of COVID and all these things that we have going on with Zoom and stuff, it's important to understand that the subtle nuances of how we do what we do still are related and connecting back to how we make people feel. And we can make people feel a certain way just by how we interact with them. So I'm going to start the presentation. And so there's a I don't remember what it was, but I believe it was actually one of the comic add-ons for the Matrix. They have a bunch of derivatives and stuff, so they had a comic book version of that. And the point of it was it was this sensei master and the student sparring the swords, and the master says to the student, they're within a sword's length away. They say, "Can I hurt you from here?" And of course the answer is yes, right? And so he backs off a few feet outside of sword length. "Can I hurt you from here?" Yes. Well, he gets across the room and he says, "Can I hurt you from here?" And immediately in my head, I said, yes. And what I was thinking was, I can hurt you with my words. I can make you feel pain just by virtue of how I treat you. Conversely, then it follows that I can make you feel pleasure or experience a great connection simply by virtue of how I interact with you and how I treat you. And so that principle or that lesson is what I've taken, in this case, to virtual relationships, but it applies no matter where you are. The distance doesn't matter. What matters is the intent behind what you're saying or how you're behaving towards another. That's how you work on making people feel in a relationship. So think about the relationships that you had in the military, and what were some of those key things. We're going to be reflecting back on this at the end of this presentation. So I want you to have this as a question to think about now as we go through my experiences using the applications and the lessons from Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. But the important part of this is building relationships. The same strategies that you used in the military to get stuff done or to get favorite S1, or in my case, I used to tell everyone that there were 3 key people that I'd build relationships with in every unit that I get transferred to. One was the cooks. 2 was the S1, right? The personnel office, so that my paperwork would not get lost. And 3, in my case, it was the MPs. So I always wanted to make sure that I had friends with MPs in case they would interact with me out on the economy somewhere some night. So I always made sure to build relationships with these key people. So that's how it applied to me. So I want you to be thinking of that for yourself. My key takeaway for this is be curious about others, right? Everything about a relationship that I've learned spawns from that one nugget. If I'm curious about you, what your goals are, what your passions are, what your struggles are, If I'm seeking to build a relationship with you through your interests and your connections, nothing else gets in the way of our relationship. And I tell people this is that in networking or in connections, right? If you feel that you're a what they call a introvert, you actually have a strong advantage because you're not going to be talking about you the whole time. You're not going to be putting forth energy to look like the happy guy if you're asking questions and being curious about the other person. So everything that I'm about to present comes down to this one key takeaway. This was how I did it in the military. It's how I do it in civilian life. As long as I'm curious about you, you're going to take an interest in me. So same thing applies virtually, right? One of the key things that I've learned is do favors for them to show that you're thinking of them when they aren't expecting it. So this is, I'll give you an example in my community right now. Today is trash day Tuesday. I've taken up, since I started working from home, I can see when the trash person comes. So I go out there and get all the trash cans after they're done and bring them all back to we live in a townhome development. So in our quad, I bring the trash bins back for everybody's house. So think about how that makes them feel in the winter when it's 30 below out and they don't have to go out and get their trash cans. Somebody's thinking of them. That's the message that I'm telling them. Then conversely, and this works especially well for veterans, ask them for help because it shows you that you value and appreciate them. Well, in order to do that, you have to learn what they're good at, right? You have to show that interest. And so what I've done is I've taken it upon myself to build an inventory of their passions, their skills, their hobbies, right? Where can I tap into their talents and ask them for help so that they know that I appreciate their worth? And then for building relationships, right? I've been doing this, inviting them for virtual coffee. So I will book a meeting with my coworkers and say, hey, let's have coffee so that we can get to know you better. And they're open to it. It, might take a couple weeks out to book it, but it's that virtual breaking of bread, taking time to spend time with someone just to get to know them. I leave my video on, and in fact, this is very interesting. Got caught on this just today. We're in our team meeting and I'm the only one that has the video on, and I'm actually multitasking, and I'm looking and I'm kind of frowning, and my boss pings me on chat. She says, are you unhappy? You're frowning, right? Oh, yeah, I was multitasking. My apologies. Busted, right? But when I get concentrating, I get into a frowny face, right? And she took it as, I was looking away and not paying attention and not engaging with what they were saying. So I must not have been agreeing with it. So it's important to be virtually visibly present virtually so that they know that you're there to make a connection. So I've developed 3 phases to this approach. One is initial contact, right? Take an interest in them, ask them for help. 2 is build and grow that relationship. Continual offers to help and continually stay curious. So it's just a continuing amplification of what's in phase 1. One of the things that you might catch me doing is I use the phrase my friend a lot. Interestingly enough, I learned this from my Indian coworkers. And I learned it because they would always call me my friend. Oh, my friend Alan, it is so great to have you here. Alan, my friend, please tell me this, right? And I started to react. I noticed how I was reacting to that. Like, they think I'm their friend. I have a friend. I'm awesome. And I was like, wow, that is powerful, right? So I've taken to, not insincerely, I really mean this, right? I want to build a relationship and a friendship with someone. And so I make sure that I make it a point of letting them know that I regard them as a friend. It transforms the relationship when they know that they're appreciated and they'll reciprocate. And then that brings us to phase 3, which is what I call reap the reward. And this might be winning them over to your way of thinking or persuading them or something, right? So that when you want them to change their behaviors or change their approach to something in the workplace, say, once they understand that you have their best interests in mind, which you've been building up over the relationship, all you really need to do is to explain how they win in your request. So let me give you an example of this, how it's been working for me. I'm coaching a lady on we're moving into a new tool for tracking work at work. And my job is to coach her into using this tool and persuade her. Well, I've been using these techniques and others, and it's really interesting because every time I try to show her something, I come to find out that she's already been doing it in the tool for at least 2 weeks. So I'm like, oh, well, you're already doing it. Well, then the next step is this and this and this, and I'll explain it to her. And then I'll circle back with, let's move forward with the next step. She's already been doing that now. So each time I go to try to get something, she's already taken advantage of what I've shared with her because she knows I have her best interests at heart, and it's helping her be more productive. She's, in essence, taking to the tool like a fish to water because I care about her as a person. And she's willing to come around to my way of thinking just because I asked. But she understands that she's going to win in the request. And so that brings us back to the beginning, is what are some of the key things you did to build relationships with your team in the military?
Oh, was that the question for everybody?
Yep. That's the question of the night.
Oh, I'll just say for me, since I jumped in there, that I'm just friendly. I'm approachable, and
Yep.
I am not an introvert, so I'm usually friends with everyone, not just the S1 and MPs or whatever. So, but it works for me because now that I have a bunch of people over 20 years that have gotten out, that friendship is still there. That military bond is always going to be there. So that's my 2 cents for the conversation.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, this is Mike. I think sharing in the misery, if it's lousy weather out and you're out in the field and you're doing training, you don't, head to the vehicle or do something else. It's like, you stay with everybody, and I think that helps build your relationship too. They realize everyone's in it together type of deal.
Yeah, fantastic point. Thanks, Mike.
I would say what I've done is just listen to people and empathize, and they always say they say about sailors and anybody in the military, being is a happy one, right? So sometimes you just got to listen to them and let them vent, and then you build close friendships from then, and then you can get as a team, and like Mike said, you're in the suck together, so might as well enjoy it.
I love it. Go ahead, Tim. You had a comment.
Yep, I was going to say one night I was listening to the cooks bitch, and in the military, obviously the cooks work long hours. They get up early, stay up late. Yeah. And they were mad. They were in the field, and I just I didn't say anything. I just heard them bitching and complaining. I just rolled my sleeves up and I went in and helped them that night. So, nice. But I always found that if when people really need some help, if you can jump in, if you're able to, that makes a huge difference, and they're willing to help you out when you need it.
That's lovely. I love that, man. Seems like it's a theme.
Yeah.
Embrace the suck.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So it, everybody has hard times out there. Everybody gets down, and sometimes, at that particular moment, they were understaffed with cooks, so they were, doing double the work. So yeah, Yeah, no, I wasn't their supervisor or anything. I just did it. So, but yeah, I got better food after that too.
Right on.
That wasn't the motivation, but I got it.
No,
Anyway, it was good.
I love it. So thoughts about how this applies to your job search? How do you make, say, the HR person feel, or how do you make the networking partner feel, or how do you make the hiring manager feel?
Is it okay to jump right back in? Because I got
Yeah.
an example of one that just
Yeah.
happened yesterday. So I have an interview for a CVSO position on Friday in person. And the HR person for the county called me yesterday and set an appointment up for Friday. And I'd never met her before. Her name is Patty, and we were just chatting. I asked her how the weather was there, and she asked me how the weather was here. And by the end of the conversation, we both laughed a couple of times. So it was just that, initially kind of reaching out, and it's a small town where it's a small county and a small town. So
Yeah.
we talked about that as well too. So it was kind of cool. I felt like I'd almost like the beginning of a relationship with that person.
I love it. Fantastic. You saw their humanity.
Yes, I didn't think about it like that, but you're absolutely correct.
Yep.
I think the being curious about others is a key point. How many of you have come away from a conversation where you said very little, you just asked questions, and the other person said, boy, I've really enjoyed it. They talk the whole time and they say, I just really enjoyed our conversation, and you go, yeah, do you know anything about me? But that's not important. Make it about them. And if you can get them talking like that, it's amazing how people want to talk about the job that they are doing and what they're looking for and how much they'll tell you about it. But you need to have those questions.
Amen. Other thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I think, like the humanity thing, if cutting them some slack too sometimes, because you realize they're busy or whatever, and if they're late to a meeting, a minute, it's no big deal. You just kind of, understand how that happens, and then just, because could be being late the next time. So.
Yep. Good point. Yeah, it could be you next time.
And
So
now
here at
I
work-
had all these people like you that were trying to suck up to me because I was in military police. And so, that's a different kind of relationship.
Well, so I work nights, and so I'd go through the gate at night, right? And so I would leave a little extra time just to stand and chat and, shoot the shit with them for the purpose, because they're bored to tears on that guard post, right? We've all been there, right? Yeah. And so it's like, hey, let me just, be a little break in your day. So, it's worthwhile to know that somebody cares about you on an individual level.
I got some extra care from the MPs one night coming into Fort Knox, early in the morning, with a vehicle of drunk guys.
Yeah.
And we went through the gate. I was a designated driver, so I was sober. Everybody in the vehicle was passed out. And I dropped, and the MPs were probably a little bored, but I dropped, when I got my wallet out, I dropped it on the floorboard. Man, that was it. That was the end. Pull the vehicle over, everybody out. Have the K9 go through the vehicle. Yeah. And then the drunk people woke up and made derogatory comments to the MPs. So we were detained for a long time. So, but yeah, make friends with the MPs. Absolutely, Alan.
Yeah.
100% agree.
They're the ones that will help you connect to your drill sergeant, I found out too. They're very helpful. I went through the post and after basic graduation and forgot my ID because I didn't know you needed an ID to get on post. He's like, yeah, let me call your drill sergeant. Oh, really? That's how we got to do this? So he was very helpful. Oh, well. So that's basically it. I appreciate everybody attending and helping. I appreciate the comments and the thoughts. I just wanted to share those points with everyone tonight so that they had an opportunity to share and reflect on how that would impact your job search.